Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
So Nancy and Gail, the heart of this podcast is really all about food and family. And we interview siblings about what it was like around their dinner table growing up, what their favorite dishes were that their mom made. But in other episodes, we interview chefs about how their family influenced their culinary journey. But today is so special because we get to combine our admiration of chefs and our love of siblings and celebrations of mom into one episode. So we're thrilled to have you here. Welcome, Gail and Nancy Silverton, to Hey Sis, Eat This.
Nice to be here.
And thank you both so much for coming and being here with us today. We're big fans of yours, Nancy. When Whitney and I were when we were living together in our 20s, we lived right down the street from La Brea Bakery. So we often found ourselves standing in line for your bread and sandwiches and have been going to your restaurants in LA ever since. So it's so exciting to be interviewing someone we admire so much.
Well, you don't look old enough to have been standing in line when there were lines
Botox,
at La Brea.
Nancy.
Okay.
I know.
Botox fillers, we're very big proponents. Gail,
Yes.
we've actually developed a friendship together through our emails of trying to coordinate and put this whole thing together, so much so that you've even invited me and Courtney to your home in Italy, and we can't wait to
You don't waste any time.
No, we waste no time.
But truthfully, we're so excited to get to know you better as well.
I had said it might be easier to do a podcast and find us together in Panicale.
Right.
We would definitely do that, yeah.
We would make the trip. Let's get into it. Courtney and I are 6 years apart, and we weren't always the best of friends growing up, but I think we're doing pretty well right now.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
So, Nancy, tell us what the age difference is. We know you're the older sister, but how much
Well,
older?
first of all, you're wrong. I'm the younger sister.
My research.
Yeah, go back to your research.
They
No.
lie on the internet.
But we're close.
Were you friends growing up?
Yes,
Being so close.
I think that most of our friends we had in common. And in those days, when school semesters had half semesters, I was held back half a semester because I'm December. I missed the cutoff.
Oh.
So in school, we were even closer. We were 1 year apart.
I know that we shared a room for the first 10 years, right, until
Right.
we moved to Encino. So we were born in Sherman Oaks. We shared a room,
Shared friends.
shared friends.
I think we shared possibly a boyfriend
I was
that
about to-
that
that
I
was gonna be
didn't
my
know
next
about
question.
until years later.
At the same time, or yeah?
Well, Dana?
Oh, no, I was thinking of Bobby Stein.
Oh, and Bobby Stein. Oh, yeah.
multiple boyfriends.
But no, never at the same time.
No.
You were
Yeah.
no longer living
No,
with
not
Dana.
at the same time.
That's hilarious.
No, my boyfriend, very serious boyfriend from high school, well into college, I didn't see for years. And I saw him in a parking lot about maybe 7 years ago. And I yelled out the parking lot, "Dana, hi." And he looked over and he said, "Nancy." And it was,
That's so funny. But he was the one that dated Nancy
You
as
lived
well.
with him.
I lived with him.
Gosh, yeah.
I think you just maybe
Had a fling.
had a
with him.
fling.
I had a fling in London or Paris. Somewhere where I was not in Los
Not
Angeles.
near Gail. Yeah.
It doesn't count. It was out of the country.
Yeah, it was out of the country. It didn't count.
Well, let's have some appetizers.
If I had to pick, I would want Nancy's chicken liver crostini
Oh, yeah.
from Pizzeria
We just
Mozza.
had those at Mozza the other week, and those were the best I've ever had. Let's stop talking about Nancy because we're here to celebrate one extraordinary woman. Your mother, Doris Silverton, who you lost in 2001.
2001, November,
Okay.
right before Thanksgiving.
But we're excited to talk about her and get to know all about her. And we're going to call her Momma Doris because that's what we call all the moms on this show. 'Cause
Okay.
We call our mom Mama Ashley. So I want to know about Momma Doris. Where did she grow up, Gail?
She grew up in Yonkers on Highland Park. I just drove by her house a few years ago with her sister Barbara.
And how did she meet your dad?
She met my dad at
Grinnell.
Grinnell in college.
Nancy, tell me a little bit about her, like characteristics about her. What kind of mom was she? And I know she had a big career, so touch on that a little bit.
I think that she's a mom that I But I think we both appreciate so much more now, realizing how awful moms could have been,
Right.
that we sort of took it for granted that moms were intelligent, that moms were independent, that moms had a whole life besides just being
Their
a
kids.
parent or a wife,
Right.
but doing a great job at both of those as well, that she had taste and opinions.
She had taste.
Right.
She had opinions. I think she ran a really democratic household. You were asking, how we were disciplined. I don't remember ever being disciplined. I think she had great faith in us that we would do the right thing, or that she had raised bright, smart, daughters that care about themselves.
I don't think that she was more proud of either,
Right.
of us. I think that she sort of looked at us as individuals and was very supportive of life choices that we made.
Well, I think it's interesting that you say we didn't appreciate that moms were independent, or they were, all of these things. And not a lot of women were independent
No.
in her generation.
Not at all.
And that's extraordinary to me, that she was raising you ladies in the 60s and she had a full career. How did that even
But
happen?
we didn't know that because her friends were very similar.
Wow.
And so were her family members,
Yeah,
two of
and
her
her family
sisters.
members.
One had been arrested. She was a
suffragette.
right?
Wow.
That's a pretty incredible lineage. Her other aunt, Evie, was a very powerful woman in Washington. She was actually awarded the Medal of Freedom by Clinton.
Oh, wow.
When he was in office. So these were two women that were very much in her life, and so we just took some of these things for granted. People ask all the time about, was she a great cook, for instance?
Right.
And I know that growing up, I think more than Gail, was so concerned about being like everybody else. Like, I couldn't stand the cars my father drove. They were sports cars. It was like, why can't you have a station wagon with wood on it like everybody else? Why do you have to drive a T-bar
drive a
or a
1959 Porsche?
Yeah, it was just. And then with my mom, it's like, why do you have to cook this food? Why do you have to buy these little cookbooks and make beef bourguignon and
Leg of lamb
and spanakopita? Why can't you make hamburger helper and TV dinners like everybody else? So I didn't like her cooking growing up. My sister, you did.
I loved her
You
cooking,
did, but I
was
just
embarrassed about our lunches because everybody else would have a peanut butter sandwich, a bologna sandwich, and I would open my brown bag, and she never put anything in a baggie.
Sure.
It was this wax paper that didn't stay closed.
Because she wouldn't buy plastic.
Because she wouldn't
thought
buy
it was
plastic.
Oh my
wasteful.
God! So she was an environmentalist.
we got
a
recycled
leg of lamb.
Yeah, we got recycled bags from the supermarket, and she wouldn't buy, if she ever bought like snack food or anything like that, which was very rare because we didn't have that in our house, but if she ever did, it would never be in individual bags the way we wanted
like
it.
cereal.
Yeah.
I wanted a little box of
All you
Trix.
wanted, yeah.
And
Too
it was
wasteful,
oat bran. And
Right.
Yeah, no, it was, she was way, way, way ahead
Ahead of her time.
She
her
was.
time.
So she was a writer in Hollywood, right? Mm-hmm. How did she break into that world in that time in a very male-dominated business?
She had started out as an elementary school teacher. And while she was in college, she was writing. And she had various short stories published. She then, when she was in Los Angeles, met a woman, Rita, who was a writer and a creator of television shows. And she needed people to do ghostwriting for her. And so my mom started doing that. And remember, she
So
wrote under
interesting.
Nancy Gale.
No.
Yeah.
So I always ask
She has
my
one
sister
under
for
Nancy Gale.
historical, like I'll say, I don't know, I need to ask my sister.
But
She
did
remembers all
Executive
those.
Suite.
She wrote on soap operas, correct?
Yes.
General Hospital, but another sort of not out of character, but something of not typical of her generation is she came up with the idea and the actor for a script, right?
Yep.
And was it? No, what was the name? Who was Bob?
The Bob Newhart show.
Yeah.
Oh, my
so
God,
she
yeah,
had
of course.
proposed that to
And we can
CBS
say
and
this
had her
now.
notes. Yeah, and we can
Wow.
say it now. She's no longer alive. But she had, I have this idea for a show that involves whatever
A professor or a man in Vermont. I forget
Yeah,
the
who has
premise
a-
She
of
had
the
her
show.
pitch. She had the
Yeah,
pitch.
she had the pitch
She had the
and
whole
she
thing.
had the actor. And it didn't happen. And she sued.
Oh, wow.
And-
good for her.
She won for a amount of money that she was never allowed to talk
disclose.
about.
No.
But anyway, that was, how many years ago was that? That
Oh,
she
that
took him
was-
to court.
yeah.
She took that to court.
So she
Wow.
was strong. She
Yeah.
was super creative.
She was so creative and she's so thought out of the box. She also wrote a lot of movies of the week. And what she did is she would scour. My mom was the most well-read woman I've ever known. And she would scour newspapers from small towns and for stories. And she would get ideas for stories and then create the
She would
movies
option.
of the week. She
She
would
would
option them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love Doris.
Yeah.
She's so cool.
She was, and my friends loved Doris.
Yeah.
And it was, at our household, that's the household where our friends always wanted to be because it was interesting, there was interesting
Certainly.
discussions. My parents were both very political, very liberal. And we sort of
And
took
we
that
had a
for
lot of
advantage.
freedom.
Yep.
And I think the biggest, tribute to my mother is I think both of us parent the way our mother parented us.
Not the way our children parents, but
Our children have
believe it.
skipped a generation somewhere.
Oh, don't believe me. I get it from my mom all the time. Yeah, yeah.
But I know
We're
that
trying the
people
best we
either
can.
try and be like their parents or opposite. And I think we very much admire her and aim to be similar to our mother.
You both are extraordinary women who've had and have incredible careers. So we know where that comes from.
But one thing she used to say to me, I don't know if she ever said it to you, Gail, our friends went into their parents' careers. Neither one of you wanted to be a lawyer. Neither one of you wanted to be a writer. And I said,
Yeah.
but Mom, Nancy's a cook.
Yeah.
And I own a daycare.
Yeah.
We are cooking and taking care of children.
You're not giving yourself enough credit. It's like the most famous preschool in LA, but that's okay. Very hard to get into.
And Nancy's like the most famous chef in LA.
in the country, really. Right now you are, girl.
Well, there's a quote that we read in an article that was written about your mom, or your family rather, and it says, Doris, a journalist and writer, taught her daughters the goodness of lentils, goat's cheese, and beautifully set table.
What was that from?
Where was that?
Yeah, and I think it was talking about your gelato store when you opened it and your family and how much your family has been contributing to community in Los Angeles over the years.
That was another thing. My mom was so generous, with her time.
Oh,
she
yes.
volunteered when she was no longer writing. She would volunteer for
I told them she
reading
was-
as a second
reading at
language,
a
or-
school in the San Fernando Valley to children where English was not their first language. She fought endlessly to get speed bumps, on the streets near the elementary schools in my neighborhood. But she did teach us to set a good table.
Well, that's what I wanted to know is what was that criteria for the beautiful set table that Doris would have happen at y'all's dinner table?
It was sort of the same, sensibility. Like you don't eat out of containers.
No
or cartons,
containers on the table.
Things like
cloth napkins.
that. But it wasn't like when you, let's say, holiday time, and you see what you would think is a beautifully set table, but had a lot of kind of cheesy decor. She wasn't like that.
Right.
It was more. It was more tasteful.
Elegant.
But I think because eating dinner was a very big part, eating dinner together as a family was a big part of our growing up, or maybe it was more generational, meaning that people did not eat out the way they eat now,
No,
right? I
sure.
mean, we ate at home every single night at 6:30.
And kids
the table.
ate with the family. It wasn't
Yeah.
feed the kids and then the adults have dinner.
That's how we do it in our house now.
Now?
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's very rare. I mean,
I'm very rare. It's very
I
rare.
never I don't think I ever had a sit-down meal with my kids.
I mean, you worked.
Well, you were working.
Yeah, you were working.
Right, but a lot of people were
Yeah,
working,
are
not
working,
just
yeah.
myself. So I want to say that it's rare that people sit together as a
So
family
rare.
in the same
seat.
seats. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
my dad to the left, my sister to the right of
That's
me, I was
right.
across from my mom. And I still have that table.
Oh, you do.
And
In
the
your home.
table was set. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't fancy,
Yeah.
but the
And no
napkin
bottles
was
on the table.
No
Remember that?
bottles.
My mom
No
would go
bottles?
crazy
No
if my
bottles.
dad would bring like a bottle of milk to the table.
And
But
no
a wine
elbows.
bottle.
And no elbows
Gail,
on the table.
Gail, strong and able. Get your elbows off the table. This is not a horse's stable, but a first-class dining table.
Oh, wow, that's the end of the right. We say that to our kids all the Mabel, strong and able, but I haven't heard the stable part.
Our grandfather used to say that to our mother, and he would say it to us, and then that's always been in our family as well.
One of us would set the table. One of us
Yeah,
would clear
right,
the table.
Right.
Right?
It was a
And
routine,
it was, and I just assumed all over the world people
right?
sat down at 6:30.
Sure.
Was there lively conversation?
Yeah, oh
happening?
yes. Always like what my dad's day was like.
Yeah.
Because he was a trial lawyer and loved, and I used to always be so excited when he would win.
Oh, that's cool.
But it was always what he was, how his day at work was. Always politics. I was
Yeah,
so
always
and
politics.
current events and
Never a television on.
yeah, never a television on during dinner.
No.
Right.
Ever. But also, I just assumed that families spoke together, and especially my mom and dad, they always communicated and had something to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
That's lovely.
So special.
Yeah.
Which it is.
Yeah, they really shared their communication and had common things to talk about and
Yeah.
brought that to the table.
But current events was always a very
was the
big
big
thing.
one.
We were really always.
They were very political.
Right. She's involved in Hollywood, and that's political, and he's an attorney, so
Right.
it makes sense that that was happening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, most of the siblings that we talk to talk about their mom's tuna noodle casserole, not lentils and goat cheese. So I want to know, Nancy, what Momma Doris's culinary style was.
I think it was very eclectic,
Eclectic.
right?
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
mean, I can name her handful of dishes that she really loved to make. She loved to make chili.
Chili,
She loved
brisket,
brisket,
yeah.
chicken with a lot of paprika,
beef bourguignon,
beef bourguignon, lamb.
a lot of lamb,
Oh, interesting.
pilaf.
Yeah.
Rice pilaf, yeah.
Never white rice, pilaf.
Right.
Did she? Oh, she would make quesadillas, but she wouldn't make them. She would actually be frying the tortilla and put brisket in it and hash. She would make hash.
That sounds really good, a brisket quesadilla.
But not tuna noodle casserole.
No,
ever.
I know.
Not
It doesn't-
baked ham with pineapple.
Yeah.
No.
Right? Not
was Nana.
yeah, and I love that. No
Yeah.
TV dinners. No
So she cooked. I
No,
mean,
but she did
Caesar
cook.
salads.
And, yep.
And in the
But
50s, this was unique food.
yeah.
Yeah, and I remember so clearly that when she brought home the Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking, and she was obsessed with making Julia Child's roast chicken. Oh wow! And she used to say how hard it was and how many times she had to turn the chicken and turn the oven up and turn the oven down, but it was worth it.
I mean, food-wise, I only fault her for not having sweets in the house. And when she did, every once in a while, it was in that tall cabinet
or
on
frozen,
Matilda.
or Sara Lee frozen
Sara Lee. That's
spice
Maybe,
cake.
but
Because I
I-
remember sneaking, and I write about the spice cake in my new cookbook. That vision of sneaking into the kitchen at night, opening up the freezer, peeling back that cardboard, and cutting a little thin slice of that. But
No,
she
and I
didn't
snuck
really-
into the upper cupboard on Matilda. I remember so clearly, and I still have such a sweet craving.
Do you?
I do.
See, sometimes
do.
the deprivation
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
always work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's my only criticism
Yeah.
Yeah,
of
no,
her
I-
parenting.
So you mentioned some of the dishes that Momma Doris made, but Gail, I want to know, what was your favorite dish she made?
I'm going to guess it was the chicken because it's the two dishes I still make. It's the roast chicken with a lot of paprika and the brisket.
Yeah, but a brisket, yeah, I think so. But do you remember when she transitioned from the chili of the ground meat beans that you did cheddar cheese over and things like that to
the one
our housekeeper's one where you actually made
Chili Colorado.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yeah.
she was
Yes.
Yeah, and where you actually took the dried chilies
And it was cubes.
and you
that's
rehydrated, and it took a
ambitious.
couple
Yeah.
days. And she was as proud as she was of that Julia Child chicken. She was
Yes.
so proud of.
And her tomato soup with the
That I
5
remember.
different tomatoes.
Oh, see, I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
I definitely remember when she started making sort of the real,
Yeah, I remember.
authentic
I kind of
chili.
love these
I
like
remember
Tex-Mex
that.
dishes
Yeah.
you're talking about,
Yeah.
the chili and the quesadillas. Since we're from Texas, that's
Yeah.
those are our go-tos.
Nancy, was there a worse dish that she would make?
Well, again, for me, it was anything that kind of was unusual. I really like the American
Traditional.
So I don't remember if I liked her spanakopita. I don't
This
think
may
I
be
liked
shocking.
her. I don't think I liked her beef bourguignon.
No, Nancy used to fry bologna on the burner
Yeah.
of the stove.
We all thought
How
we
old
created
were
that.
you at this age? What?
Oh, it was in It was it.
It was in Amistoy, so you had to be 10.
Okay.
And we used to, when we went on family vacations, my dad always had a tradition. We each got a whim. And so if I wanted to stop and pet a cow, that was my whim. I got, And same with picking restaurants. It was very democratic, and you wanted Denny's.
Always.
Your whim was Denny's?
Yeah.
Oh, Nancy, you're
Always.
admitting
And
this.
She was not a
and
foodie
Gail
then.
and my parents, they would always seek out some sort of unusual, usually ethnic place
Right.
in
Right.
whatever
Right.
town we were going through. And I was just always, I would just pout and probably not.
Right. You're like, I'll take the bread, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did not have an adventurous palate at all.
How did that evolve for you?
College.
Just in college when I started cooking in my dormitory kitchen, and that sort of led to an interest in food, to restaurants, and then
Yeah,
the kind of
here we
And
are.
it took
here
off
we
from
are.
there.
Yeah, but
Well, I have to ask because we're in the throes of Hanukkah right now. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
I'm Jewish as well. And so this time of year, are you making the traditional brisket and latkes? Do you get together as a family? What happens?
Well, we are getting together.
Who hosts?
Me.
Who
Yeah.
cooks?
I don't know. I'd never been
Jones
to
on third this year.
Why Jones on third? That's so funny. I like her.
Because-
Do you ever go there?
Sometimes.
Oh, 'cause I don't
do.
ever see you
I
over
do
in
go.
that. Oh.
But we have one in Studio City.
That's why.
That's
right.
why. I usually do make
I
her
like her.
brisket.
Okay, your mom's
for
brisket.
Yeah, for
What is-
most family
Can
occasions.
you share with us a little bit about that brisket?
I mean, basically, it's buying a brisket and searing it, if that's the right term. I
Yep.
have to turn to my sister.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
in
the right-
really
yeah.
hot oil with a lot of pepper
Oh, interesting.
and
okay.
salt on all sides until it's really, really brown. This is not the genius recipe. Throw it in a pot with carrots, a lot of onions, salt,
Celery.
celery.
Do you do beer or no? Or
I don't do beer. I have. I just
Yeah.
do water and then a giant blob
Onion?
of lot of onion. A blob of some kind of red paste, whether
Right.
it's ketchup,
Ketchup.
tomato paste, whatever
Exactly.
it is, and cook it like 9 hours.
Yeah.
It just sits there all day.
I just made, I was telling my sister yesterday, I just made 2 briskets. I had a Hanukkah party on Friday and I had too many people, so I had to do 2 5-pound briskets. And I put one in my roasting pan and I put another one in a Dutch oven, and I wanted to see how they would cook differently. I did do ketchup and chili paste, or not chili paste, chili sauce. And French onion soup mix. I'm usually more gourmet than that, but I don't know. This
It's
one
really
recipe
good.
really
I don't
works.
think the brisket needs gourmet.
It doesn't, but I didn't sear it. But the one that I cooked in the Dutch oven, because the meat took up the entire thing, really caramelized and got really shreddy. Where the other one in the roasting pan, same exact ingredients, everything. It just kind of steamed more. So it was just really tender, and it did slice, but it wasn't
Mine's
shreddy.
really stringy.
Yeah,
and the
okay.
onions, I put so many onions and carrots, but they all shrink down
I
and
love it.
caramelize.
I love a brisket.
But this year we're having, I think, you guys, 25 people.
Okay. Are you
I've never
invited?
been to. Yeah, I've never been around. I think maybe that's
she's
why.
always in Italy.
Oh,
So
okay.
I haven't. And I went to my daughter's house 2 nights ago.
Okay.
But even in our family, I have to say, my parents are both Jewish, but we didn't some years we would celebrate a night of Hanukkah, and other
Right.
years we wouldn't
Oh,
celebrate
really?
any. Sometimes
Okay.
we'd have Passover, sometimes we wouldn't. I mean, it was just, and most of the time it was Christmas we celebrated because it was one day and it was just easier.
And Nana celebrated Christmas,
Yeah, I
and Barbara
wonder
came
why.
down.
Yeah.
Barbara came from Berkeley.
Yeah, but I wonder why our grandma, because
Yeah, no
they
idea.
they were both brought up Jewish anyway.
Yeah.
we
well, we
didn't-
celebrate it all too.
Yeah,
you know?
we didn't, but it wasn't a ritual like when
No,
some people
not at all.
try at this time of year all the time, being that I'm in the
Food business.
world, to talk about holiday recipes and
Yeah.
which were your favorite growing up.
Yeah.
No,
And it's like,
none.
we didn't really celebrate them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Thanks a lot, Nancy. I'm not going to ask this next question,
Yeah.
but I'll ask Gail. Are there any holiday traditions that Momma Doris did during the holidays that you still continue on with to this
No.
day?
But I'll tell you one tradition.
Did she make latkes?
I don't think so. I don't think that we stood on a lot of tradition in that typical way. But one thing I do know, and I think Nancy and I are the same, if we have Thanksgiving, everyone's welcome. And I think that's true. Our Thanksgivings, there's all kinds of stragglers and family and friends, right?
That's the way it should be.
That's
And
how
I
mine was
think-
this year.
I think our homes are open doors to people. I know for a fact yours is, and the parties that you have, whether it's in Italy or in Los Angeles. And I'm living
Yeah.
in our parents' house right now.
I know.
Not
I
right
read
now.
I'm not.
No, you are. I mean, that's your home. It sounds like you're
right.
You know, I mean,
You don't still
not-
live
yeah,
with your
still live at
that's-
home.
Yeah,
Yes, but that house
Yeah.
is also open
Yeah.
door and has had numerous weddings.
how
Not only
beautiful.
our children's weddings have been there, but people I don't know have gotten married there or had their children's birthday parties there.
That's so
cool.
special.
And I think that
Yeah.
is kind of a tradition, a lot of generosity. And I think we carry that on.
Yeah. Nancy, do you get a little nostalgic when you go to Gail's house? Are there parts of the house that you're like, oh, I remember growing up here?
Yes, I do, but she's done so much with it
Yeah.
that I think of it as her house. You
Right.
know, I don't feel like sentimental as far as regret.
Yeah.
Right.
Wishing she didn't change
Why
my
did you
bedroom
change
color,
it?
or why is it no longer my bedroom? It's an office, so I don't have that kind of. But I think I have good. I think we both have good memories.
Yeah. Right.
We had a good, healthy,
I think really functional.
functional childhood.
Wow.
You know,
Not a
nothing.
lot
Yeah.
of people can say that.
Right, exactly.
But we didn't know that.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
Well, you do now.
Yeah, we didn't know that. Like, we have no demons in our closet.
Yeah.
No.
Right?
No.
Right. Well, that's fortunate.
That's great.
Yeah, it is fortunate.
No, it is fortunate. You know,
Well, I
you
mean,
don't
and look
realize.
at your families. You've got these great kids, and you've got,
Yep.
you both have these great careers, and they did something right. Your parents, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and that's what you wish is every once in a while they could pop back. They don't have to stay here forever, but
No.
just to poke their head and say, wow,
Yeah.
But
I'm
she
so proud
pops
of your
that.
new cookbook. Or,
Yeah.
Gail, I'm so happy that you are finally able to give your school to your teachers and have
But I
And
do
I'm-
hear her, do you still have to dye your hair red?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
She never liked it.
I love it. I thought, is that you're not a redhead? No. Oh, I love it.
My mom's the same.
Yeah.
So my mom's, blonde. Courtney's blonde.
Yeah.
I was Texas bleach blonde for so long. And then I went back
Oh,
to
she
my
hates her,
brown.
yeah.
She's like, I just think you look better as a blonde.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Well, my mom
Still.
never criticized it. She would just do this, and you have to look at my face. I know that
okay.
this audience can't see it. She would just do this.
That meant.
Yeah.
Every mom.
Every mom
Yeah.
has
their
some
thing.
kind of opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our mom, growing up in Texas, she'd be like, well, you need to put your face on, or you're not going to wear lipstick out today, And so,
Your face
okay,
on?
thanks, Mom. Your face on.
We
Where
still
in
say that.
Texas?
Dallas.
Oh.
We still put our faces on in the morning, We have full conversations in our mom's accent like this, this is.
I put on my lipstick. But our mom also, the other thing I do remember being embarrassed is too strong of a word, but slightly embarrassed. My mother did not get her hair done. And this is the 50s now.
Right.
She did not get her nails done.
Yeah.
She did not wear makeup.
Really?
And
She did wear lipstick, though, and I'll tell you why.
when she went out,
No, before that, because
Always?
I used to have my job, probably our job, was going to Nate's Delicatessen for 25 cents, buying her pack of Pall Malls. So that was not filtered, but I didn't understand. Remember, every Pall Mall had that bright red
Yes.
tip to
I
it.
don't remember.
Yes.
So
but-
that was I
no,
meant-
hers,
yeah.
her lipstick.
Her lipstick. So she did wear
yes.
lipstick in the day because
Yeah.
I always thought Pall Malls had a bright red.
A ring on
That's
it.
right. But I always wonder, though, if they were able to parent the way they did, and then we grew up because of that parenting, or if we were pretty good kids, and so they could parent that way. We didn't have curfews. We didn't have bedtimes.
Nature versus nurture.
I'm not sure.
The most trouble I got in was when I shoplift when I was
Nancy.
and I got caught. When I was in 7th grade, and I was with 2 other friends.
What'd you
and,
steal?
Mascara or earrings from Montgomery
Mascara.
Ward to Topanga Plaza. Was it mascara?
Yeah, mascara.
So, but my other 2 friends got, for that time, severely punished. One
Right.
was grounded for a year. The other one, I wasn't allowed to go to her bat mitzvah or, whatever. But, and, my dad picked me up from the police station, and he said, I'm not gonna punish you. I'm not gonna say anything. I think the worst punishment is that I have to come and get you.
Right.
And that was it. And it was never talked about again. And I never
Yeah.
stole again.
Right.
And that was like, I don't know
Yeah.
if you ever did anything that you got in trouble for, but we weren't like, we didn't stay out. We weren't into drugs.
No,
we smoked, but they knew it.
Right.
And we were allowed to smoke at the house.
Yeah, and she said, I would
When my mom-
rather that you smoke out in the open
Yeah.
than me walk in your room and you stick it under the bed and
And
catch
see-
the house on fire.
Right.
We have this in common. We smoked out in the open with our mom around
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we
I
did.
mean,
Yeah.
more like late high school or college, but
Yeah.
and our mom would come and she's like,
But we were 13
Yeah.
or 14.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
I
I was probably 16.
Because I know when
Yeah.
my mom found out I was taking birth control at 15,
Yeah.
she said, I'm glad you're being
being
responsible, and all those kinds of
Yeah.
things set in. That's what you say rather than how dare you, I'm
Right.
taking that away from you.
Right,
So
right.
then instead you get pregnant.
Yes.
You
She
know,
empowered
it-
you to be
right?
independent.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
slept with my boyfriend, with
Yeah.
Dana, and I wanted him to sleep at the house. And she said, well, I would rather know where you are than being in a car,
Yeah.
on Mulholland.
Oh, wow.
But you have to sleep in the guest house because I'm uncomfortable with this. I was like, okay.
And you were a teenager?
Yeah, in high school.
That,
Right.
you know?
But I mean, it wasn't that they were neglectful
No.
parents.
No.
They were
No.
just smart.
I think they were
Yeah.
super understanding.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. That is not what we had. It was like, don't come home pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fascinating, actually.
That is.
No, but it's good parenting.
It is good
and I
parenting.
think
Great.
what Gail was saying about taking a lot of the things, how we were parented, and passing that on to how we parented.
Yeah.
And were y'all that open and honest with your kids as well?
Yeah.
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 In fact, my daughter had said to me, Mom, one of the reasons that I never got involved in drugs in high school was that you let me sleep with my boyfriend. And I was so cool for being able to do that,
Right.
that I didn't have to prove how cool I was in any other way.
Right. So do I need to let Reagan sleep with her boyfriend in high school so that she won't do that? You know what? I think there's
Well,
yeah.
At least you can control that with birth control.
Yeah,
If she starts,
exactly.
right, doing drugs,
I think
you
it's
can't
better to
control
know
that.
kind of
Yeah.
everything that's going on, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, neither of us, we didn't cut school. We didn't,
No. I mean, I one time wrote a phony gym excuse in junior high to get out of gym. I was extremely big busted. And I was really, really insecure and shy and uncomfortable changing in gym. So I wrote the excuse. And I got caught, of course, and they called my parents. And my mom just said, I just heard of something, a new surgery called a reduction.
Oh, wow.
That was her answer to that.
Wow.
Wow.
So
That's really
Very
amazing.
well, she's extremely supportive. Yeah.
We do have a little note about some marijuana smoking.
it was my first time ever smoking marijuana. I just want to say this out loud in case grandchildren are ever listening to this. I tried a lot of different drugs one time, and that was it. And the marijuana I smoked in high school, and my mother was driving carpool, so that's how young I was. And she picked us up in carpool, and she looked in my eyes, and she said, "Gail, your eyes are really red. Why?" And again, I don't think we lied to our parents.
Oh, wow.
I said, "Mom, you know what? I just tried marijuana." And her answer was, "Oh, Gail, don't be ridiculous." I think
God,
she
I love
never
this
believed
woman.
me.
She thought you were lying.
I think she thought I was lying.
Or
And
she
so
just
I didn't push
trusted you that
Right,
you...
you're like, okay.
No, I think she thought I was making that up.
Oh, that's really funny.
And I didn't push it. And
Yeah. And you didn't ever do it again?
Amazing. We also have something about a tattoo.
Oh.
No, it was the one thing that I lied about. I got a tattoo when I was maybe 18. Never told her. Nobody had tattoos then.
No.
Right.
At all. I got a tattoo, and I used to keep it covered up with a bandage when I was around her. And on my wedding day, I had a low back, and she saw it, and she said, "Gail, what's this?" And I said, "Oh, I got a tattoo." And again, it was like, oh, that was it. I mean, it was over, but I had hidden it for 3 years, thinking I was going to get a
in
negative
trouble and
reaction.
she didn't care.
She didn't care.
Yeah. Any tattoos, Nancy?
No, I don't have any. I never got any.
All right.
And
well,
now I'm too old to get
But they
one,
would.
so.
She would have been so proud of Nancy, and
Gail.
no, she really would have. And I think about it a lot. The amount that you talk about her in your books, the amount.
Oh, yeah.
Right. She would have been so proud, and at least. Was she alive? Oh, she was around with Campanile.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
I mean, my dad lived longer, so
Right.
he got to see a little bit more of your career. But she missed
But
it.
it's beautiful that even though, you don't necessarily cook her recipes or love the food growing up, she is a huge inspiration to
Yes.
you
Oh.
as a chef and
Yeah.
a cook because you talk about her in your cookbooks.
Right. And I think that's all she wanted from us ever was for us, because she used to get a little bit jealous of our friend's relationship with my dad. My dad used to take us all horseback riding. He would teach our friends how to drive.
Right.
And she used to sometimes kind of hint at the fact that people might prefer my dad.
Or
over
he
her.
was acknowledged more.
So I think
Right.
that she would have been
Yeah.
very happy to see how much I, mentioned how much she was an influence, but also I think we would have laughed about a lot of those times where
she
things that
sounds-
mattered don't matter any.
She sounds like a character, you guys. I mean, she really does.
She had
Didn't
such
care.
a great
Yeah.
sense of humor.
Yeah.
She was so witty.
So smart.
So smart.
And a real pioneer for
Yeah.
women's rights,
Yeah.
which is so beautiful.
And that's why both of us grew up thinking we could do whatever we wanted, and really it matters if you're a woman or not. And people still ask me, of course, that question, that gender question of how do you survive in a male-dominated profession? And it's like, I just never
didn't know any
thought of it.
difference.
I didn't realize that it was, or that it would stop me, or,
We do some rapid fire questions at the end of our episodes. So let's start those. What is one trait that you get from Momma Doris, Gail?
I think setting a good table and my love of words, of word games, of crosswords.
Wordle.
Of course, Wordle.
I don't do any of that.
Of course, Wordle. Now try waffle.
Crossword. She loved crossword.
Okay.
Yes, crosswords.
Yeah, no.
Okay. What's one trait that you got, Nancy?
I think my love of like entertaining.
I would say that about our we both get that from our mom too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
We love to set a good table, too.
Oh yeah.
Nancy, one word to describe Gail.
Wow, only one?
You can do two. I know.
Well, I think my sister, wow, that's a hard, and I'm also not very articulate, I don't think sometimes. So, but I think that my sister is incredibly
One word.
It's okay. It's okay.
very outgoing. How about
Go.
that? Outgoing.
Outgoing.
And
Are you out? Yes.
I
She likes to
I
think
think
she's
inside
shy.
I'm shy.
Yeah, but she's very outgoing.
Well, then, Gail, one word to describe Nancy.
I think inspiring and generous.
Wow, that's really sweet.
that is. Gail, what is your favorite dish that Nancy makes?
Oh, wow. Any vegetable, one dish, that's impossible.
Is it those roasted mushrooms? Because
Well, those roasted mushrooms, when you asked appetizers, was going to go down. But I think now, this is more recent, your fish.
Which
okay,
one?
yeah,
I think the branzino.
we love that.
But see, she's mixing up like restaurant because
Right.
obviously
Oh, dish-
I do a whole, and then what I actually then just do for company rather than on a restaurant.
I don't think I can, but you made it for company.
Yes,
You made it in Italy.
Yeah, I did.
Is that the one from Mozza?
Well, there's one that we do at Spacca where it's butterflied, and I do it on a plancha, but I don't do it at home because I don't have anything big enough to.
Right.
I can't
Butterfly,
pick a
but-
vegetable. I just
I
have
know.
to say
They're all amazing.
vegetables.
Well, Nancy, what's your favorite dish that Gail makes?
Let's think, because Gail doesn't really cook. Do you cook for me?
No, I mean, I really don't. I think that I've probably, the bag of pistachio nuts I give
Okay,
you.
there you go.
The 5-pound bag of pistachios.
But there's no reason why. I mean, I'll see what. Well, no, because you're getting Jones on third. I would say because. But
She's going to make the brisket. You can report back.
Well, she does a great brisket. I've had that.
All right. Maybe it's the brisket then.
Maybe.
What's the best life lesson you learned from Momma Doris, Nancy?
Sounds like there's a lot of life lessons.
Yeah,
obviously.
there are a lot, but I think curiosity. I think my mom was, don't you think, really curious in what other people were,
Yes.
were doing,
she
Curiosity.
was, but the biggest one,
She wasn't narcissist.
no. For me, the one that really helped me in my life was no is a complete answer.
Yes.
Ooh, I love that.
Really?
Yeah. And
How did you see that?
because she used to tell me when I didn't want to do something and I felt like I had to because I felt pushed into it or
I never learned that.
uncomfortable.
And she
I learned that one.
Just say no?
It was kind of an early just say no.
Wow, I
but
never
the
got
other
that.
one was it's okay to say I don't know.
Okay.
When I would come up with reasons or guesses or excuses
Right.
that weren't maybe always true, just say I don't know.
Whenever we have chefs on, we always ask, what is your favorite kitchen tool?
Oh, I have many, but I would say I love a microplane. It's a great.
We
I
just
also
had
love
that.
a mortar and pestle, and I love wooden spoon.
Yeah.
But a microplane is a great,
It's a great tool.
tool,
You can use it for so
Yep.
much. Yeah, I love it too.
and it kind of, for me, it bridges the cook to the carpenter. And my father was like a novice woodmaker, right? And so,
how
kind of
interesting.
So
brings
much
the two.
creativity in your family.
Wow.
I just need a cast iron pan. If I can't
Yeah.
cook
I
it in the
love
cast
it.
iron pan, I'm probably
Yeah. I
not
love a
going to make
cast
it.
iron.
Yeah, that's a great.
God, I love a cast iron. Well, we want to mention one final thing before we
Yes.
let you ladies go.
Okay.
Nancy just launched her 12th cookbook?
11th.
11th. Okay. Well,
Don't exaggerate.
okay, sorry. It's in the internet. Just there was lots of different varying numbers.
I know, because, you know why? Because I wrote in my book about it being my 10th cookbook, and someone said, I counted it's your 11th. And
Okay.
I'm like, oops.
All right. Well, Nancy just launched her 11th cookbook. It's called The Cookie That Changed My Life.
Do you have
Congratulations.
it or not yet?
I have it, and I just
Well, it
bought
just
Dolce
reached the New York
Leche.
Times bestseller
Yes.
list.
I know.
And I think because I've bought like 50, I'm giving it to everyone I
Keep
know
buying, keep
for
buying.
Christmas and Hanukkah and everything. It's an incredible book. Congratulations,
Thank
Nancy.
you.
It's
Yes.
so awesome. And
Thank
we were
you.
at your book signing. It was, and we
Yes.
tasted the cookies. So
It's a
it
peanut
is-
butter cookie.
The peanut butter?
I don't even like peanut butter cookies. It was fabulous.
It's what we call on the show a panty dropper, a PD. There's dishes that we talk about that are so good it makes your panties fall off, and it's a panty dropper.
Oh, I'll
Pretty
take
much
that as a
everything you
compliment.
make is a PD.
It is a huge.
but
It's the highest form of
it's
compliment.
the highest
at
form
Hey
of
Sis, Eat
compliments.
This.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the cookie that changed your life. But we also brought you both a gift.
Oh,
This.
That's so nice.
I know, so sweet.
This is the brownie I'm going to get.
I know we're gonna cry.
This is the brownie that changed our lives. And as Courtney had kind of told y'all before, that our parents got divorced after 33 years of marriage. And my mom found herself at 55 years old without a career. She'd been a wonderful, homemaker, and she could cook. And she started selling the brownies. She'd always made these incredible brownies, and she started selling them and eventually opened up her own catering business. And at the time that this was happening, Courtney and I were living together out here in LA in our 20s, and we started to cook. And we were making some of the stuff that she was making, and our love of cooking just
Our obsession
grew from there. And these brownies are kind of the origin of us starting this podcast.
Wow.
Oh, thank you so much.
And so we just want to say thank you for that. And thanks for being a guest on this podcast. And this is that brownie.
One thing we never learned from our mother, Gail, I'm just looking at this, is how to tie a bow. Right? Did you tie these up too?
I tied them. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
No.
very Texas.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it
Yeah.
was not the San Fernando
it's so
Valley.
I even know how to
symmetrical.
cut them in that fancy
Yeah,
little
yeah,
way,
okay,
you
Gail.
know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even notice
Impressive.
No, I'm
Yeah.
still wrapping in newspaper.
Well, you have them in good health.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank you.
much.
We hope they go in your little
Your basket that you throw your
yes,
things,
it will.
you know?
Oh, that'll be. Yes. That's where it'll
But
be.
take a nibble because it's worth it.
Yes.
Oh,
for
thank
sure.
you.
Yes. Well, Nancy, tell our listeners where the best place is to buy your cookbook.
Wow. Well, I like my neighborhood small independent bookstore
Yes.
called Chevalier. So let's say Chevalier on Larchmont.
Oh, I love that bookstore.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And anywhere and everywhere, Amazon, all of
Right,
it.
right.
You can find Nancy. But
Yes.
But support your local independent bookstores. too.
Yeah. And you can also follow Nancy on Instagram at Nancy Silverton.
I didn't even know that. Is that what it's called?
I got you, Nancy.
That's so funny.
And Gail, is there anything you would like to promote on Hey Sis, Eat This?
To promote?
yeah.
No.
School?
No. But no, I'm not a promoter.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
No,
But I
we
do
just
want
wanna
to
give the
tell
opportunity.
Nancy that maybe we're starting a new Hanukkah when we have it tradition, which is all of our family members are going to bake cookies from your cookbook.
Are they?
That's a great idea.
And yes,
Or bake something.
they're going to bake from the cookbook. They're all nervous about your opinion. And I said, you will just be thrilled to know they're all trying it.
Yes, tell them just to follow the recipe.
And
Yes.
use King
That's the
Arthur
problem.
flour,
Yeah,
too.
King Arthur flour helps. But
So that's
but tell
your
them to
surprise.
follow- That's a good surprise. Tell them just read the recipe.
Right. I'm
When-
doing the chocolate with dulce de leche and marshmallow.
Okay, so what it's going to say in the recipe is that you have to add it by hand. It's a real messy because you get chocolate over. But if
Right.
you mix it in, then you lose the streaks of all that. The Alaskan.
So that's my holiday tip.
Wow.
Oh,
Instead
wow.
of my
we made the
promotion
coffee
free.
cake the other day.
Which one?
The one where you put the strudel in the middle.
Yeah,
The one that was
Izzy's.
inspired
Yeah.
by your summer
So
camp. We
good.
didn't
Yeah.
even get into that, but you were probably like,
How was it?
it was amazing.
amazing?
It was amazing.
Amazing.
It was incredible. We actually served it to another chef that we interviewed
yeah.
for breakfast. Yeah.
And how did it go over?
It was great. And she actually
Wonderful.
was like, you know what? Well, we can have this coffee cake, but I brought tequila. I make these drinks. And we were like, woo, okay. It was a party.
Coffee cake and tequila.
All right.
Well, we cannot
Great.
thank you both.
Thank you.
enough.
Thank you. Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Such
Happy
an honor.
everything.
Happy holiday to you.
And we'll see
Thank
you
you.
around. Thank
Thank you.